They didn't just demolish a boat. They tore apart the last thing I built with my kid and called it community improvement. And as the barge crew dragged steel through my slip, and the HOA president smiled for the clubhouse camera. She had no idea she was picking a fight on water she didn't even own. I'm not talking about a toy with blue LEDs and cup holders. I'm talking about a 39-foot steel trawler named the Rosie May, welded plate by plate across a summer of burned sleeves and shared jokes. The shape of her shadow felt like a hand on my shoulder. You want a hook, here it is. They called her an eyesore, signed a paper, and sent a demolition crew, and I sent them a map. Most mornings on Lake Alder Creek started the same for me. Coffee black boots on sun. Warmed boards. Pine and gasoline. In the air, gulls arguing about breakfast. The Rosie May pointing at the sunrise like she knew the way. And if you've got a place where your memories live, you know what that does to a man. You know what I mean. 6 a.m. On a Tuesday came a knock. Like a warrant, I opened the door to a woman dressed like tennis practice in a magazine. White visor. White smile. Clipboard guy 2 steps back. Like a shadow, she said her name was Serena Whitford, Alder Point. President. And without a hello, slid a plastic sleeve at me. Your vessel violates community appearance standards. 30 days to remove it. Initial fine, 500 daily fines begin Friday. Then she tried to hand me back my own life. I said. I had my deed, my riparian rights, the original county slip permit. All in order, and she glanced across the tabs like she was checking for dust. Those are outdated. We manage the shoreline. Now, we're keeping a consistent aesthetic, steel hulls are. Industrial clipboard man snorted. I asked. Steady if an actual law changed, or if this was just a new brochure. She smiled. Like the question amused her. You'll move it, or we will. I'm not an easy man to rattle. 30 years as a marine mechanic teaches you to fix what's in front of you without cussing out the bolts. So I did it the right way, not the loud way. I made clean copies, added maintenance logs with dates and numbers, and leaked down results. Walked into the HOA meeting that smelled like metal chairs and lemon cleaner. 5 board members staring like I was holding up the line at the DMV. I set out the documents, explained title beats, taste, and when I finished, a guy with helmet hair leaned into his mic and said, "So you want special permission to keep your floating warehouse, people," chuckled. Serena tapped her pen. The vote was 5-0 denied. Not one of them touched my paperwork. The next letter was colder. Hazard designation derelict structure, removal authorized. If not moved within 72 hours, 500 a day. Until then, I set an alarm to meet the county. At opening, life had other plans. The clinic rolled my appointments into one long day. I came home under a purple sky, the clubhouse security light flickering like a bad conscience, and I smelled it first. Diesel hot metal. Then I turned the corner, and my brain stalled. The Rosie May was gone in her place, a carcass of torn plate and splintered beams bobbing in a rainbow slick. The barge crew rolling up straps. Because for them, it was just Tuesday. I stepped onto the dock, and there on the boards lay the nameplate. We carved, snapped clean through the O like a broken wedding ring. I picked it up the edges, bit my palm, and the quiet inside me got heavy. Heavier than grief wants to admit. In the morning, I called my insurer. The agent was kind for maybe 3 minutes. Then I said the word HOA, and the warmth died. Unfortunately, Your policy excludes removal by a governing authority for unauthorized or derelict structures. She read, I said. She wasn't unauthorized, and she wasn't derelict. I had logs and inspections. The agent said they had a hazard resolution stamped by the HOA. Our hands are tied, and it's funny how many hands get tied when a bully waives paperwork. People at Alder Creek talk more than they think. I bought coffee for an old-timer named Walt, who lives on the bait shop bench and knows things. You only learn by sticking around, he told me. Serena held a closed-door session at her house a week before my appeal. 3 signatures. No notice, emergency clause stamped hazard. And he said there was chatter about a private club on our side of the Marina, 50 grand buy-in. And then the petty stuff. $200 violations for planter boxes that didn't match a kid named Isaiah, told to reel in because no fishing on association docks. I asked him what he thought it was for. Walt shrugged. A name on a brochure. A ribbon-cutting control. Pick one. Then he looked at me like he knew where this was going and said, "You look like a man who knows how to read a map." That night, I went to the back of my workshop. There's a gray file cabinet under a shelf where good intentions go to die. The lock gave up sometime around the first Obama term. I drilled it, popped the drawer, and there it was, where I left it, when honest work kept me too busy to baby paperwork. Alder Basin Holdings, LLC. An old county contract from when I surveyed part of the basin and a lease, 99 years, for submerged land. The bed under the water covering parcels that run out from the old bulkhead line into the very slips the HOA was acting like they owned. I had read it back then, but I didn't see it until that night they claimed the deck boards and the clubhouse and their echo chamber, but they did not own the mud under my slip. I wanted confirmation, not luck, so I called a friend, not a lawyer. Ruth Hanlon, 40 years. A county surveyor and allergic to sloppy lines. She came with a thermos and a roll tube and the calm of someone who measures truth for a living. We spread plats and leases and parcel overlays on my table. She traced lines with a fingertip and sat at a metal ruler. A pencil mark leaned back. "Sipped coal," she said, calling me by my name like she always has. "They built the last 30 feet of that fancy new dock on your leasehold. You own the mud, they've been acting like it's theirs." And I laughed, not happy relief, the kind you feel when the noise in your head finally has a place to go. I didn't go back to the next HOA meeting to make a speech. I went to the print shop, asked a quiet spine of a lawyer named Marcus Keene to help draft a cease and desist that cited parcel numbers and lease language. We sent certified copies to every board member and one to the county waterways office. Because I like sunlight then, I reactivated Alder Basin Holdings with the Port Authority and filed to classify my slips as mixed use, not a stunt, a service. I offered $1 a month lease to a paddleboard couple, Marina and Cole, who keep getting chased out of parks. They cried at my picnic table. Yeah, that happened. And I called the volunteer fire chief and gave them slip 1 for free with shore power and freshwater hookup because their old spot across the lake added 20 minutes to every emergency. He said we'd just cut response time in half. Serena felt something else. Fences and chains popped up overnight across footpaths folks have used for 30 years. Signs sprouted like weeds. Members only. No fishing. No loitering. And security in tactical shorts rolled around in a golf cart, asking for HOA IDs like they were checking passports. A clipboard guy, Brad Copley, pointed at Isaiah's bobber and said, "Lake privileges can be revoked." A teenager looked at his dad and reeled in hard and fast, and heat shimmered in my ears. I hadn't felt since I was young, because this wasn't about pretty docks. It was about who gets to decide what a life near water is worth. We met in my workshop that night, cutting oil sawdust. Coffee boiled too long. 10 neighbors at first, then 20 people in the doorway with hands in pockets like they were confessing we called ourselves Friends of Alder Creek, because every good fight needs a polite name. Marcus filed an injunction to pause HOA enforcement on docks and water until ownership was sorted. Not a firebomb, a referee's whistle. The HOA called it harassment. I called it. Tuesday, they pushed back with letters about zoning and insurance and certified threats that made good people's hands shake, and then the petty fake code notices on my door about mailbox height and trim color. The county inspector's name misspelled cute, so I slept like a dog, with one ear up twice. I woke to soft foot clunks on the dock, and by the time I got outside, the night air pretended it didn't know me. I hung trail cams, night vision tucked into the willow raccoons, a heron, a cat with too much swagger than at 2:11 a.m. There he was, Brad with bolt cutters, crouched by the fireboat's bow line. He chewed through one cleat and started the second. I didn't yell. I hit record and dialed 911. The sheriff's lights slid along the pilings like a quiet sermon, and Brad froze. The cuffs went on without a speech. The video said everything. We didn't wait for their regular agenda. We asked for open forum at the special session. They called for the Marina situation standing room. Only people who never show up showed up. A local reporter set a phone and a light that made the front table look like TV. Serena sat in the center behind a folder, so neat it made me feel sorry for her kids when it was my turn. I walked up with nothing in my hands, looked at her, looked at the folks who carried groceries for me when my back went out, who watched my place when my daughter was sick. And I said, "You fined us for using your docks starting tomorrow. I invoice you for using mine." The quiet that followed wasn't empty. It was loaded. Marcus nodded to Ruth, and she rolled a color map on an easel parcel. Lines sharp as stitches. The new dock reaching across numbers. The county would recognize Marcus spoke like a man who didn't need your approval. Alder Basin Holdings, LLC riparian title. To submerged parcels. Through a 1099-year lease on file and in force, he projected the demolition order. The signature line said, "Serena Whitford, the basis was a hazard vote, stamped in a private living room, a week before my appeal." Not at the public meeting. The room started to murmur. Serena talked about a consultant's survey. Marcus didn't argue. He called up Officer Miguel Alvarez from the County Waterways office. The man looked like gravity. Didn't surprise him anymore, he said. They reviewed the lease, the plats, the filings, the submerged parcels under the disputed dock weren't under HOA authority, and any fines or enforcement tied to them were invalid. Thunderclap from a blue sky. Then we played the trail cam clip, 2. 7 a.m. bolt cutters on a public safety vessel. The room made a sound that wasn't a gasp, so much as a human body recognizing a line crossed. Deputies stepped forward. Brad stood because standing was all that was left. They walked him out quiet. Serena stared at the map like the dots might rearrange if she glared hard enough. Marcus asked for one thing, the Bylaws clause that allows a vote of no confidence for cause, and presented the petition we filed that morning with signatures from 1/3 of the membership. HOA lawyer whispered. The vice president's hands shook. He tried to offer a temporary suspension. The room laughed without humor. Officer Alvarez cleared his throat. You will cease enforcement now, or we'll close the dock and seize records until this is resolved. Choose the recess. Lasted 9 minutes. The lawyer came back with a face that had met reality. He read terms into the record. Restitution for the destruction of my vessel. Refunds of all lakefront fines issued under invalid authority. Immediate resignation of the board pending a special election, and a resident committee to supervise access under county guidance until ownership is settled. The gavel hit, and the sound traveled through my bones. And that's where it ends, for now. No parking lot dancing, no slow motion. Hugs, just quiet water. Dock boards that still creak the heron back on the stump, and a space at the end of the slip that doesn't feel empty so much as waiting. Justice tastes like a breath, finally leaving your chest without shaking. But I'm not naive. Paper is powerful, and people with clipboards are creative. There will be another meeting, another letter, another brochure, trying to sell control as community. So here's the question. Was I right to play chess with paper instead of flipping tables? Are HOAs guardrails for good, or bullies with better stationery? If you've seen petty rules used to hurt the wrong people, tell me your story. Where are you watching from? What would you have said into that microphone when the room went quiet? If you think kids should be able to fish without asking permission, and folks should keep what they built with their own hands, tap subscribe. Share this with the neighbor who needs it.